Welcome back. All right, so 4 games tonight, so relatively quiet night. And again, in a normal regular season, we would have at least one day a week where there'd be like 1 or 2 games. I miss that. I'm looking forward to next season when we're gonna have those days back because I kind of miss that. But 4 games tonight, not too shabby, not too stressful, and not too stressful for me because there wasn't a team that I actively cheer for and I'm really invested in that was playing tonight. So I just enjoyed some really good hockey. Let's go ahead and start things off with the most bizarre game of the night, which was Chicago and Nashville. And I mean bizarre. Like, if you didn't watch this, I don't know what to tell you other than this was just crazy. The shift in momentum. Usually this is the stuff we see during the early part of the season. We saw it in Pittsburgh last night. The Pittsburgh Penguins becoming the first team to ever allow 6 goals in the third period and win the game. And tonight, Chicago, on a less grand scale, kind of does the same thing. So it's Saros versus Subban. First minute, Yossi had a shot there. Kane had an early chance that was saved. Kind of an open game to start things out. Predators' fourth line pressed. Subban with some saves. And then on a Yossi turnover, Suter would score from Hagel at 4:14. So Chicago's up 1-0 in a game where Nashville's ahead of them in shots. Kalanick had a near goal. Connolly actually stopped it. So that was a situation where it was going in the net and Connolly's stick knocked it the other way. So, oops. There was a blocker saved by Subban on an Ekholm shot. Things get kind of scrummy with 9:19 left in the first period. Hawks get a power play. They had a lot of pressure during that power play, but it was a no. Both power plays were 0 tonight. Johansson had a rush. He shot wide, but during that same series of plays, they end up scoring to tie it. Tolvanen, who's returned from missing the last 7 games, scores from Arvidsson and Johansson at 14:16. And so that ties it up in the last minute. Ryan Carpenter had a chance that he shot high, but it's still tied at 1 after a first period. Second period, they announced that DeHaan wouldn't return. The good news was Chicago had 7 defensemen dressed. So since they were doing an 11-7 situation, they could just stay with 6 defensemen. In the first minute, the Hawks get a power play. There was, again, pressure, some high shots that missed the net, and it's killed off. Chicago was trying to shoot high on Saros all night, which means that they were generally missing the net on a lot of these plays where it was close, right? Predators had chances around the 5-minute mark, but Hawks would clear it out. Yossi was in beast mode after he was responsible for that turnover on the first goal. So Yossi, very nice recovery there. Predators get a power play. That's unsuccessful, and Doc ends up with a break after the penalty kill is done. That is saved by Saros. Arvidsson with a break. Subban makes the save, and then he robbed Cousins as Predators press. However, at 13:39, Sissons gets a goal. Now, I know it was a high stick by Sissons, and then I think it was Murphy touched the puck. And then Sissons, because Murphy touches the puck, the high stick doesn't matter then. So Sissons puts the puck in the net after that. So, yeah, that was the issue for Chicago on that one. It's just bad luck for Murphy. We'll get back to him. Hawks nearly answered, but they weren't getting any puck luck at that stage of the second period. And then Granlund would score from Ekholm with less than 2 seconds left. Now, this is where the announcing to me sounded suspect. It's NBC Sportsnet. This is nationwide, right? This is supposed to be not regional. But you could tell when Nashville made it 3-1, the announcers weren't very happy. And then they throw to the studio at the break, and it's like, well, that's a tough break for Chicago. And I'm like, seriously, you guys try to pretend that you're not openly rooting for a team. Third period, in what was one of the, I admit I laughed. I did. So Connor Murphy's bucket comes off, his helmet, right? So you have 2 options as a player. You can skate off because you don't have your helmet, or you can try to put your helmet back on. He tries to put his helmet back on. The chin strap ended up over his eyes, over his face, okay? So it's above his nose. He can't fix it because the puck's on the Nashville sticks. So the funny part is the announce team even says Nashville's going to get a goal because Murphy's blinded by his chin strap out there. And then they did. Cunnin scored from Granlund and Yossi at 58 seconds. And all I had in my head at that moment was the idea that Murphy would go over to the bench and say to Jeremy Colton, hey coach, so my chin strap was covering my eyes. I fixed it, though. I fixed it. Hey, coach, I fixed my chin strap. And just Jeremy Colton just deadpan looking forward and just pretending he can't hear him. That's the image I had in my mind after that. And I had a good chuckle because they kept showing it from different angles. Like, you just can't believe this. And again, you could tell the announcers weren't happy about it. At least that was the impression I got. You guys can let me know in the comment section below if you got that impression as well. Predators then go to the power play. And again, the announcers were rooting for the Hawks. And this is why I say this. The Hawks, they would when they were on a power play, okay, and that took place in, I want to say it was during the second period that I started making a mental note of it, that the Hawks are on the power play, and they kept coughing up the puck, but they kept praising the defensive work for Chicago, and I'm like, but why are you praising the defensive work by Chicago when they have the power play? Shouldn't you be praising Nashville's penalty killers? So, anyways, Johansson had a fast break, full control for Nashville at this point, and then it all falls apart. Kalanick scores from Kane and Hagel at 10:04, and then about a minute later, Hinostroza scores one from Doc at 11:13. You know I like that because I'm a big Vinny Hinostroza fan. It's been great to watch his turnaround since going back to Chicago. And then Kubalik scores from Suter at 12:55. The damning part of that is the Predators had called a timeout after 4-3 goal, and it didn't make a difference. Ellis had the turnover, and it ends up in the back of their net. And then the Hawks get a power play for the 4 minutes. The Preds would kill that off. That's where I really noticed the announcers, was that 4-minute power play that the Predators kill off, and they kept talking about how great Chicago's defense was. Well, he kept them to the outside there. Yeah, they're supposed to be on the power play. The puck's not at the other end of the... Why are you praising... All right, so we go to overtime because this is one of the most bizarre games of the year. So why not? First chance goes to the Preds. Duchesne could not get one to go. And then Hagel scores from Hinostroza and Doc at 3 minutes. So Hinostroza with a goal and an assist in this game. He continues the incredible scoring pace he's been on since returning to Chicago. And Chicago goes to 22-20-5. Nashville drops to 25-21-2. And the Dallas Stars throw their hands in the air and go, all we wanted was not a 3-point game tonight. Great. Shots, 16-11 Nashville in the first, 14-10 Nashville in the second, 9-7 Nashville in the third. Chicago outshoots them 2-1 in the overtime. Final shots were 40-30 for Nashville. Nashville was the better team until in the last 10 minutes of that third period. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if this is just Chicago being Chicago and deciding they want to hear as much Chelsea dagger as possible, or Nashville just not being able to close it out, but I think it was a combination of both. Power plays, Nashville 0 for 2, Chicago 0 for 4. Saros saves 25 out of 30, Subban saves 36 out of 40. So, yeah, that was quite the game. All right, moving along. Minnesota. So, I talked here about how Chicago was being outplayed for, a lot of the game, and then they come back and they get the win. Minnesota was outplayed almost the entire game. And this has to be a very frustrating result for the Arizona Coyotes. A team that they're ahead of St. Louis because St. Louis hasn't played as many games, and St. Louis has to win at least one of these games in hand, right? So early chances for the Coyotes. In fact, 3.5 minutes into this game, the shots are 5-0 in favor of Arizona. Talbot, the MVP early and often and throughout. Really slow start for the Wild. Slow game for the Minnesota Wild in general. The Coyotes draw a power play and they score on it. And it's Dvorak with his 6th power play goal of the year from Kessel and Peterson at 7:38. Absolutely miserable start for the Wild. Now it's 1-0 Arizona. And it looks like this one could get ugly if Talbot has any kind of, issues in this game, which he didn't. Kemper denied Suter. Felt like the Wild might be waking up. In fact, they had a better second half of the period. And in the last minute, there was a good chance for Kaprizov. So you go to the second period feeling a little better about yourself. And in the second period, they feel a lot better when Fiala scores from Sturm and Soucy at 2 minutes and 58 seconds. And that was on a turnover after the Wild had pressed as well. So the Wild came out into the second period playing pretty well. But then it changes again, right? Coyotes get a power play. That was killed off. Talbot was the one keeping this tied. He was the one killing off that penalty. Kemper denies Parisi. Bonino fires one high. And that was the thing, too, hitting the net. Got to get better at that. The Wild get a late power play, which led to a good shorthanded chance for Krause, which was defended by Jared Spurgeon. And in the last minute, there was a post for Dryden Hunt. So, some good fortune, some good defense, and great goaltending, keeping this tied for Minnesota going to the third period. Early chances for Schmaltz in that third period. He had two very, very good chances in front of the net, could not bury it. Slow start again for the Wild, but then it's Foligno scoring from Eriksson Ek, and that made it 2-1 for Minnesota. It was a beautiful breakaway goal by Marcus Foligno, and nice to see him heating up again. There was a 3-on-2 then. Talbot makes the save on Demers. The Coyotes were pressing at the half. Remember, they've been in control of most of this game. You get a goal here on a breakaway. You get a goal here on a turnover. Outside of those two plays, Arizona's controlled most of this game. Wild having a really tough time with the second pass. So that first pass, sure, outside your zone. Neutral zone, that second pass, not happening. Coyotes were cutting that off right, left, and center. So there wasn't really anything happening offensively for the Wild. Keep that in mind because, again, it really wasn't working out for them. Back-to-back icings then by Minnesota. So you're tired, you're taking icing calls. This is not your game. But you're ahead. That's the weird part. Talbot was really the story as the Yotes were pressing again. There was more pressure by the Coyotes with 3:30 left. And then the puck goes the other way. Kaprizov hits the post. And you're thinking, all right, so that was a lucky break for the Coyotes. However, Kaprizov would get it back on a turnover that Zuccarello recovered. And at 18 minutes and 20 seconds with a nice wraparound goal, Kaprizov gets it. So Kaprizov basically wills one in there. He sets a new record for Minnesota rookies with his 19th goal as a rookie, beating Gabrick's record that I think they said was over 71 games. It's a crazy rookie season Kaprizov has had. I know he's cooled off recently, but still, excellent rookie season. Foligno then had a break. He was denied. They pulled the goalie in the last minute, which allowed Sturm to score at 19:48. And it was a weird empty netter because he basically looked off the defenseman who moved out of the way so he could have the empty netter. So that was nice of him. Yeah, I thought you always play the shooter when it's an empty net situation, but he was playing the pass. It's interesting idea. Minnesota wins 4-1, a score which definitely flatters Minnesota and shows that, you know, sometimes the team that should win might deserve the win. It just doesn't work out that way. Minnesota goes to 29-13-3. Arizona drops to 20-22-5, and again, it's not working out for them. Shots in this one, Arizona the whole way. 14-9 in the first, 17-7 in the second, 9-7 in the third. Final shots 40-23 in favor of Arizona. Power plays Minnesota 0-for-1, Arizona 1-for-2. Talbot 39 saves on 40 shots. He was fantastic. Kemper 19 saves on 22 shots. Kemper's save percentage has been down, but again, this is a breakaway. This is on a turnover, and this is a wraparound goal for Kaprizov. I don't know which one of the three can be thrown on him. And yeah, it was just a really interesting game. Moving on to the next interesting game, which was San Jose and Vegas. And again, Vegas is just better than San Jose. That's the long and the short of this entire season series. And tonight, it shows. Vegas wearing their gold jerseys. I still love the gold jerseys. They should be wearing the gold helmets with the gold jerseys. Just do it. It'll look fine. Just do it. Meyer scores from Shellman at 2:38. So, San Jose with the early lead, but they had the early lead in the last game, too. Donato gets a chance right after that, but the shots at 6 minutes were 6-3 for Vegas. Vegas does start getting a lot of opportunities, and eventually one's going to go in. It's Marchessault from Carlson and Martinez at 6:51. Jonathan Marchessault in for a pretty big game. Momentum was with Vegas at this point. The Sharks would get some chances around the halfway mark. Things get kind of scrummy. That leads to 4-on-4 play. Basically, Burns dumped Pacioretty on his head, and it was just one of those plays along the boards. Pacioretty took a lot of offense to it. He was clearly mad about it, but I don't think there was any ill will by Burns on the play. It was just one of those hits that kind of turns out that way. And then the Sharks get a 4-on-3 40 seconds later, which is a dangerous power play, but the Vegas Golden Knights managed to kill that off. In fact, Pacioretty gets a shorthanded chance out of the box and then goes right back at Burns to have a few words with him about that hit. And yeah, he did want a piece of Burns. I don't think they had any kind of physical altercation after that. Fleury then robbed Gregor. Pietrangelo had a chance, was stopped, and Sakura had a chance in his final minute. Dylan Sakura making his debut as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. I thought he played pretty well. Vegas with the last-minute power play that would lead over into the second. The Sharks would kill it off, but then they decided to take another penalty because sure, why not? That penalty kill came through again for the Sharks. And so far, Kozanosh had been good. And I'm trying to remember because it doesn't look anything like the way it's pronounced. Stevenson had a break. That chance was saved. And then Hurdle would score from Marleau and Carlson at 11:07. So Patrick Marleau putting up an assist tonight. There you go. Now he's 2 games ahead of Gordie Howe. And it's 2-1 for the Sharks. Vegas would then get a power play and they'd score on it. Stone on the power play from Pacioretty and Theodore at 12:52. So a power play that has been struggling gets on the board tonight. They're going to turn it around because they just have too many talented players not to have a good power play. Gambrell then had a break. Fleury made the save on that. Stevenson had a chance to stop. Chandler Stevenson had a ton of really good opportunities tonight. The Sharks get a late power play. That led to a shorthanded break for Chandler Stevenson. And then Tuck would score from Theodore and Marchessault after the power play had ended at 19 minutes and 10 seconds. It was a beautiful 3-way pass. No chance for Kozanosh on that one. And yeah, that put Vegas into the lead again in the last minute of the period. Third period, which is Vegas's period. They pressed at 2 minutes. The shots were 5-2 in Vegas's favor at 7 minutes. So again, San Jose really fighting against it in that third period. They would start to turn it around eventually, but they were having a really hard time clearing the puck out that first half of that period. Donato couldn't bury one when he got the opportunity, and neither could Shellman when he had an opportunity shortly after that. Tuck, he had an opportunity as well. He missed one wide. So Fleury saved a Marleau chance. Good shot by Patrick Marleau. And then it's Marchessault from Janmark at 13:18. So that puts Vegas up by 2. You kind of get the feeling that's probably too many for San Jose to overcome in Vegas. Then there was a 2 men on the ice call, which gave the Sharks a power play. That was a no. Goaltender gets pulled with 2 minutes left, and that gives Janmark an empty netter from Marchessault. Marchessault, instead of going for another goal, which would have been a hat trick, he decides to get Janmark a goal. And that's kind of nice. His first as a Vegas Golden Knight at 19:04. Janmark with the goal and an assist. And Vegas wins 5-2. This is an 8-game winning streak, which ties a team record. It puts them into the playoffs officially. They've clinched a playoff spot tonight. They are first overall in the NHL with a record of 33-11-2. San Jose 18-23-5. So again, I know during the year there's been people who've said Shannon's too complimentary of Vegas. This is what Vegas can do. And an 8-game winning streak, I'm not entirely surprised by that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just keep running it up. So the shots in this one, 19-8 in favor of Vegas in the first, 12-10 San Jose in the second, 13-11 San Jose in the third. Final shots, 40-33 in favor of Vegas. Power plays, San Jose 0-3, Vegas 1-3. Kozanosh, 35 saves on 39 shots. He played well. It wasn't on him. Fleury, 31 saves on 33 shots for win number 487. He now sits, I believe, 2 behind Roberto Luongo on the all-time wins list. We'll keep an eye on that. He'll pass Luongo, and we'll see how high up he can go before his career is over. You get the feeling this won't be the last year. So, yeah, good news for Vegas. They win 5-2, and for San Jose, it's another nail, and it's just can't put too many more nails in that coffin for San Jose, really. So maybe we'll just let it drift out to sea, and just I mean, San Jose's right on the ocean, anyways, right? They better be, because Sharks is their name. So if they're not right on the ocean, then that's false advertising. Next up, Montreal. This game got really interesting late too. And, you know, it's kind of funny watching these games because, again, it kind of feels like early in the season, even though these are, you know, games that are happening about a month from the playoffs. So the Oilers wearing their thirds again. They wore them in the last game against Montreal as well. They wear them more at home than they wear their regular jerseys. Again, I would not be surprised in the offseason to see them say, you know what, we're going to make a white version of this third jersey and we're going to make that our regulars from now on. Habs were hitting right out of the gate, but so was Edmonton. This was a game that had 87 hits in it. Very physical game. Two teams that clearly do not like one another at all. Chason and Perry then had a fight just to drive that idea home. And keep in mind, this is on a night where San Jose is playing Vegas, and I'm talking about dislike between Montreal and Edmonton instead. That was the heated rivalry of the night. Hits were 7-7 at 6.5 minutes. So 14 hits in the first 6.5 minutes of the game. It was really chippy to the point where they were showing the hits on the screen just as often as they were showing how many shots were in the game, which is unusual when you're watching Sportsnet. Kotkaniemi had a shot. Smith makes the save on that. Cassian would exit. Looked like a Charlie horse in that situation. Charlie horses are I mean, I've had them. When I was a teenager, I had a couple. And again, they can be really, really painful. They can go away in 5 minutes. They can stick around for a while. Shots were 8-3 for the Habs with 8.5 minutes left, so they were controlling the puck early and often. Anderson had a shot in close that was saved. Smith then stopped his chance for Perry. The Habs breaking up the Oilers' chances. And then at 19:31, it's Lehkonen who scores his 4th of the year, and 3 of his 4 goals have been against Edmonton. He scores from Kotkaniemi and Petrie, I should say, at 19:31. So it's 1-0 Montreal after 1. Second period. Kotkaniemi's line had a chance early, so they were put out on the ice to start the period. Good call, because they had the goal at the end of it, right? But then at 3:09, McDavid, on a fantastic pass by Caleb Jones, he gets a goal. It's a tie game. Not for long. Anderson scores from Tatar and Petrie at 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So Petrie with a couple of assists tonight. Allen then saved a Chris Russell chance, which was on a nice pass from McDavid. Habs, their speed was controlling things. The Oilers get a power play. We then end up with 44 seconds of 4-on-4. Smith saved a Petrie chance during the penalty kill. Smith, I thought, had a decent game, even though the numbers at the end of the night would tell you maybe not. McDavid had a break, but he had 3 Habs swarm him and defend him. And that was the thing. McDavid just didn't have any room tonight. And, it was really good defense by the Montreal Canadiens. And yet, at the end of the night, he ends up with a bunch of points. So this is the reality of playing against Connor McDavid. You can go through 2 periods and go, we've done a pretty good job of controlling him. What does he have? He has 1 goal. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for McDavid, right? Pretty good for defending him. The Oilers survived a bad turnover their own end. I was like, what are you doing? But they survived that. The Habs pressed with 3.5 minutes left, but they emerged from that period with a 2-1 lead. We go to the third. Petrie got hurt early, went down the tunnel. He would come back into the game. That's kind of scary if you're a Montreal fan. If Petrie were to get hurt, that changes everything, right? The Habs get a power play. Petrie was on that power play, showing he was okay. The Oilers would kill that off and allow 0 shots to the Montreal Canadiens. So very good penalty kill there. The Habs then take a penalty when Allen decided he was going to trip McDavid. Both goalies had penalties in this game. We then got 4-on-4 for 10 seconds, which meant there was going to be a power play the other way, and Montreal scores on that. And their power play has been really shaky. So Toffoli scoring that power play marker at 8 minutes and 10 seconds is huge for the Montreal Canadiens. That puts them up 3-1. Anderson then scored. It's challenged for goalie interference. And you know what? I agreed with challenging it. I thought they might take that back, because Anderson had pulled the stick out of the hands of Mike Smith, and then he turns around and scores it. Now, Mike Smith was outside the crease. But I've seen goalie interference calls this year when a goalie's outside the crease and he gets interfered with. So it is part of the rule that I think is inconsistently called. And so when the referee said, no, we looked at it and it counts, Anderson gets the goal from Tatar and Romanov at 15:03. So that counts, and they get a power play. So it looks like Montreal's ready to end this. But 7 seconds into that power play, it becomes a 4-on-4 when a penalty is called on the Montreal Canadiens. And it's a 4-minute. It's a double minor, as Archibald took a stick in the face. And that's a double minor for Montreal because there's blood in the situation. The Oilers went 6-on-4 when they got the power play. The Habs defended it pretty well until Nugent Hopkins scores the power play goal from McDavid and Draisaitl at 17:48. Then they pull the goalie again. Now, this goal at the time that the game finished, and when I checked the app before doing this video, still reads as McDavid from Barrie at 18:49. I think Puljujarvi tipped it in front. So I'm saying it's Puljujarvi from McDavid and Barrie at 1849, but I put 3 asterisks under it. So if it actually still is McDavid's goal, and if they leave it McDavid's goal, okay. But it looked to me like Puljujarvi touched it. And it looked to me like they were asking him at the bench whether or not it was his, and he was nodding and saying yes. He was celebrating it as if it was his goal. That's as close as the Oilers get. They'd pull the goalie again. They got caught offside, and I think that's probably what ruined their momentum in that. They ended up, the puck came out, and they were caught up, and it took them a while to tag up. And so Montreal just ragged the puck around a little bit. I think that took about 15 seconds off the clock. It doesn't take much. So Montreal wins at 4-3. They go to 20-15-9. The Oilers drop to 27-16-2. And Flames and Canuck fans everywhere go, come on, Edmonton, you can't beat Montreal. This is just, what's happening? But for Montreal, it's a huge win. Now they get to go to Calgary, and they can end their season. They can end Calgary's season, and if they go into Calgary, and if they sweep that, they end Vancouver's season in all likelihood as well. So the shots, 13-4 Montreal in the first, 9 shots each in the second, 11-9 Edmonton in the third. And I'm going to speculate a lot of those shots were in the last 4 minutes for Edmonton as they were trying to tie things up. Final shots, 31-24 for Montreal. Both teams go 1 for 4 on the power play. Jake Allen, 20 saves on 23 shots. That should be 21 saves on 24 shots. And Smith saved 27 out of 31. So the Oilers, they gave it a good effort. They gave it a great try. And they just come up just short. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Tomorrow is a really busy day. But since 7 of the games start at 4 o'clock, odds are I won't have nearly as many notes tomorrow night. And that video may not be a whole lot longer than this one. So alright, stay tuned for that tomorrow night. But for tonight, I'm done. Let me know your thoughts on any of these games in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. And remember, try to keep your chin strap out over your eyes. Because all I could think when that happened was dodgeball. And I couldn't find a gif of Peter LaFleur with the blindfold and Pepper Brooks saying, he will not be able to see well wearing that cotton. Pepper Brooks saying that to Cotton. Anyways, dodgeball reference. Got to get that in there. Thank you guys so much for all your support. And hey, 186,000. Crazy. Thank you guys again. I'll talk to you soon.